Hi there, welcome to the second episode of our Circle2 tutorial series. Today we're going to be making an electro synth bass sound. We're going to be using quite similar techniques that were used in the first tutorial, but we're going to produce very different results. So first of all, we'll go ahead and select new here to initialize the preset. And then we're going to choose the oscillators we're going to use. So in slot 1, we'll insert an analog oscillator. And we'll set this to be a sawtooth wave, and we're going to do the same in slot 2, and then we're going to ensure that they're at the same level, and that will sound like this. So that sounds quite static still, so we're going to detune these a bit to get some movement going. So we'll turn that to -7 and put this one to 7, and that should sound like this. So that's sounding a bit more interesting now, though we've perhaps lost a bit of the weight or the punch of the sound. So to remedy that, what we're going to do is turn on another oscillator and then leave the fine tuning alone so that this one is perfectly tuned. We're also going to leave it at about halfway because we don't want it to overpower the others, just to back them up slightly. This one also sounds nice if you leave it as a square wave. That's sounding quite powerful already. So next we're going to go to the envelope section here, and if you remember, this first envelope is by default set to control the VCA level. So this is our amplitude envelope up here, and we want this to have quite a stabby sound to it, so we're going to turn the sustain down and reduce the decay time as well. And next we're going to go over to the filter here, and by default this is a 2-pole low pass, which is what we want. I'm going to pull the frequency down a bit and then just push the resonance slightly. And then we're going to set up a second envelope to control the frequency cutoff. So we just turn this one on and then drag this purple circle over here. And so we can preserve the stabbiness of the sound, I'm going to give a similar setting to this one. So what we're going to do is reduce the decay time so it's just slightly shorter than the amplitude envelope decay time. That's going to give us a nice snappy sound and give a nice tail to the bass. And now it's just a case of tuning the filter really. So we're going to pull the frequency down a bit more. Now that's sounding just about right. So what we're going to do next is add some interest to the sound, and we're going to do that by going into our effects panel here, and we're going to turn on effect slot 1 and insert a ping pong echo. We're going to use this to give our sound some nice stereo width. So what we'll do is drag this ping down and drag the pong down also, and we're then going to set this to sync. What that's going to do is ensure that the echo time is in sync with any other elements in the track. So now we've got this one set to BPM divided by 2 and this one set to BPM divided by 4. So this is going to bounce in equal time distances between the right and the left of the stereo field. So you can already hear the width that that's giving to our sound, although it's potentially a bit too harsh at the moment. So what we can do is just turn down the feedback and then just cut some of the low end out there and then pull the mix down a bit, and this should be a bit more subtle now, which is what we want for this. So I'd say that's just about right now. So we're going to go into Effect Slot 2 and turn it on and insert a reverb in here just so we can place our sound into a space. Then going to go into the sub presets and try one of these. So that's perhaps a bit too large still. We want it to be a subtle reverb so we don't drown out any of the power of our sound. Okay, so that's sounding really nice now. And we definitely want this to be a mono synth. You wouldn't normally play chords with a note like this. So we're going to go down into the settings panel here and turn the polyphony down to 1. And what we're also going to do is turn on this legato. And what that means is when notes overlap, that it blends nicely between them. And that can give us an effect like this. Okay, so that can give a really interesting effect to a sound. So that's sounding very nice now, and is definitely something that I can imagine being used in a track. It just seems to lack a bit of punch in the real sub, in the real low end of it. So what we can do to remedy that is turn on a final oscillator here and set this to be a sine wave. And we'll just turn off the other oscillators so we can hear it on its own. So we can hear that that's not really in the sub range at the moment. So to fix that, we will just turn this down by 12 semitones, which is equal to 1 octave. Now we can hear those sub tones, and that's really going to help this sound push through in a club. So then turning on the other oscillators, we can have a listen to all of this together. Okay, so that's sounding really nice now, and that's definitely a sound that would pack a punch in a club. So I hope you've enjoyed the tutorial today, and we'll catch up with you next time when we'll be making a classic synth lead.